Greetings to all and welcome to the Seattle Law of One podcast. Today's episode is about the present moment. Focusing on the present moment or living in the now is something that can be found in most every form of New Age spirituality today. Mindfulness, a key part of that focus, is an integral component of the Eightfold Path of Buddhism, and similar teachings can be found in Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. The present moment has also been mentioned hundreds of times in Law of One channeling sessions over the years. The entity known as Quo has described the present moment as experiencing infinity and infinite possibilities and likened it to catching magic. So what exactly is the present moment, and how can we experience the magic of it as part of our spiritual practice? Let's find out. My name is Jonathan Tong, and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups at the L&L Research website shown on your screen. We do also have a Facebook group, and we meet twice on Zoom, twice a week, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. You don't have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome to join. Just contact us at seattlelaw1@gmail.com to get on our mailing address. We send out emails once a week with the Zoom links and information on what we're talking about that week. We do also have a YouTube channel where you can find recordings of previous podcast episodes, as well as recordings of our monthly Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty. Just go to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to get notifications when we upload new videos, and contact us at seattlelaw1@gmail.com if you'd like to sit in on any of our Q&A sessions. As mentioned, today's topic is the present moment. Let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Panelists, let our viewers know who you are and where you're calling from, starting with Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Harris, and I'm calling from Gurdon, Arkansas.
So great to have you back, Jasmine, as always. And Todd?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Taj, calling from another part of this beautiful planet Earth in Sweden. And I'm super happy to collaborate, to talk, and to express our ideas together here in this space. It's created for us, for everyone.
Indeed. And we're super happy to have you back on the podcast, joining us from great distance. Thank you for being here. And Colin?
Hi, yep, you said it. I'm Colin. I'm calling from Wisconsin in the US, and just grateful to be invited and included in this present moment to share it with all of you.
We are grateful to have you on for the first time and hopefully not the last. Thank you all for being here. And I did want to remind our viewers that none of us here are experts or authorities on the law of one or on the present moment. We are just normal people like you having conversation about spiritual things that seem important to us. Anything that any of us say could be wrong. You're welcome to disagree with anything or everything that any of us say. If you are already familiar with the law of one and the entity known as Quo, you might want to skip ahead to the chapter on infinity. Otherwise, for those who are new to the law of one, you can think of the law of one as a set of spiritual teachings based on the understanding that all is one and that one thing is love. Everything that we're reading today came to us through the process known as channeling. You can think of channeling as a form of telepathic communication between humans and entities such as angelic beings, extraterrestrial beings, inner planes beings, spirits of deceased, higher self, etc. Basically, a channel serves as a mouthpiece for other entities to speak through. And in this case, those entities appear to be of extraterrestrial origin. There are two types of channeling that have been developed by our friends at L&L Research. Trance channeling is when the channel is in a trance state, meaning they are subconscious or unconscious as if asleep, meaning they are not aware at all of what words are coming out of their mouth as they're saying them. This is how contact was made with the entity known as Ra back in the early 1980s. Conscious channeling is when the channel is in a conscious but deep meditative state, meaning they're only somewhat aware of what words are coming out of their mouth as they're saying them. This is how contact was made with the entity known as Quo, starting in the mid-1980s up to and including present day. Who is Quo? You can think of Quo as a group entity made up of three social memory complexes: Ra at 6th density, Latui at 5th density, and Hatan at 4th density. You can think of a social memory complex as a planetary consciousness. It would be as if the entire human population of Earth was merged into one group mind. You can think of densities or dimensions as different levels of consciousness, different levels of reality, since those two things are closely intertwined. Imagine, if you will, that the elements of earth, fire, water, and air have some form of consciousness, as many indigenous peoples have been saying for a long time that they do. We would call this first density. You can think of second density as the level of consciousness of plants and animals. Clearly, a significant quantum leap above and beyond the consciousness of what we would refer to as inanimate matter. You can think of third density as the level of consciousness of humans and cetaceans like whales and dolphins. Again, a significant leap in consciousness above and beyond that of plants and other animals. You can think of fourth density as the level of consciousness of the social memory complex. Again, it would be as if the entire human population was merged into one single group consciousness. Clearly a significant leap above and beyond the consciousness of an individual person. You can think of fifth density as whatever would be a comparable quantum leap above fourth density. You can think of sixth density as whatever would be a comparable quantum leap in consciousness beyond fifth density. There is more to it than that, and if you want to learn more, check out our podcast episode on densities and dimensions. Otherwise, for now, suffice it to say, the entity known as Quo appears to be a group entity made up of three planetary consciousnesses: Ra at sixth density, Latui at fifth density, and Hatan at fourth density. First contact with Quo was made by the LNL research channeling team in 1986, almost 2 years after the end of the Ra contact in 1984. They have been channeled every month since then, up to present day, by the LNL research channeling team. You can find transcripts of those sessions at the LNL Conscious Channeling Library shown on your screen. Having said all that, let's take a look at a few passages on infinity. We have three passages here. On November 5th, 1989, Quo said, "The present moment is infinity. It is as though one were at the intersection of time and eternity at each present moment. The difficulties people are experiencing are due to living the horizontal life without being aware of the resonances of the vertical life, which is moving infinitely within one at all times." And then on May 7th, 2000, they said, "As the spirit awakens, the process of spiritual and mental evolution begins to accelerate. Whereas before awakening, you are content to skate upon the surface of life as though it were a pond. Once you have awakened, you are aware of it and drawn to the depths of each present moment. The profundities, implications, resonances, and overtones of each present moment are infinite. The learning in each present moment is potentially infinite. The gateway to intelligent infinity lies within each present moment. As the spirit awakens, it becomes gradually more able to hear the far more complex symphony of messages that are coming in within each present moment." And lastly, on April 12th, 1991, Quo said, "We have spoken many times of the path of seeking, of the mystery we see before us along this path. But the path of seeking is not a straight line, my children. If you wander off any line that is not straight, you are still on your path of seeking. For to the one who seeks the mystery, the entire life is a path. It contains many seemingly circuitous roads, but when it is realized that each present moment contains infinity, that each point in space-time or time-space contains all that there is, the concept of a straight line being the way the path is recognized to be only an analogy." There's a lot to unpack in just those three passages, and I guess the thing that stands out most to me is that they're saying that each present moment contains eternity, just like the smallest particle of matter contains the whole universe, contains infinity. The smallest unit of time seems to contain eternity in it. We could spend another 2 hours just talking about that, but let's hear from our panelists. Jasmine, any thoughts, reflections on anything from these passages?
I think the main thing that strikes me about these passages is a very simple concept, which is very difficult for many of us to come to. And that is, there really is no other time besides right now. Really, and when you think about it, you'll find that it's true. Most of us who live a life that is vertical, or I'm sorry, horizontal, they really tend to live their lives either in the past or in the future. They're feeling regret in some cases for things that they've said or things that they've done. Well, that's living in the past. Others, they look to the future with fear and trepidation. But what they miss is all that's really important, and that is what is happening right now in this moment. One of the things that I find that I personally do now, it's just habit, is just taking a moment in the middle of the day. And I stole this directly from Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now. What problem do you have right now in this moment? And if we really allow ourselves to think about right now where you're sitting, what problem do you have in this moment? Then that's where you want to live. And what you do when you ask yourself a question like that, you really become centered. You really become centered and grounded in the present moment.
For sure.
And
Yeah, powerful teachings. And I appreciate your bringing Mr. Tolle and the Power of Now into this, since I know that's a book many of our viewers have read as well. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on that. Just wanted to mention that point. Did you have another point that you wanted to make, or shall we go on to Todd?
no, just one quick point. And I'm sorry if all of a sudden I seem distracted. My neighbors next door have just now started running some heavy equipment. I think they're logging again. So what are the chances that of all of the days they would choose to log right now?
That's a normal day where I live, for sure. If it makes you feel any better, as far as I can tell, I'm not hearing anything from here. So
thank you.
your mic isn't picking it up. Yeah.
The only other point that I make to help myself get grounded back in present moment is occasionally I'll just sit on the porch and I'll look out and I'm thinking about this or I'm thinking about that. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, that is probably the most beautiful bird I have ever seen. And at that instant, I'm pulled back into now.
Yeah. Yeah, so beautifully said. Much appreciated. Todd, you have anything to add?
Well, I might reckon, and I will be very, very honest here. For me, this first passage is like kind of complex to understand, or maybe not understand, because we are not here for understanding. We are here to remember, and especially because of what we call, or it also even spreads here, and many of these channelings is the veil of forgetting. So yes, understanding infinity, the way it is explaining here, for me, there is not much I can really say. We live in the now, and if now can be called infinity, that's easy for me to understand. The now allows us to be in all these present experiences, the experience of being a human, having this body, talking with others, what we are doing right now, and like feeling the body, feeling being the physical in the physical world, but also being the sensation, what is arising at the moment. And in that question of who I am and what I'm doing, I think is that how I will define it. That's for me infinity. That is like it's like, just if I can say that, I think that's what I can understand, remember.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up an important point, which I hadn't really thought of, which is that being in the present moment means being aware of your body and what kind of signals your body might be sending you. And I think that's a super important part of our 3D experience for sure. Colin, anything to add?
Sure do. I mean, Jonathan, you couldn't have picked a more deep subject, right? Infinity. But the beauty of it, though, at least that I find is that infinity is not something that you can conceptually understand with the mind at all. It is not to discount the mind in any way. It is a great tool, and I think there's a lot of benefit from conceiving of infinity and the moment and the present and past and future, and the creator itself as a whole. That thinking that happens in the rational, logical mind is a tool to use. It'll get you a long ways, but it won't get you to the end of truly understanding infinity, because that comes from just being, and feeling, so so much to say about infinity. But Cole has said, also, not in these passages, but the sacredness is in the doing, not the outcome. So that kind of, thinking about it that way can help you separate from, I'm washing the dishes. Am I doing it to get them done and move on to something else? Or is the process of doing the dishes really where the fun lies, the sacredness, and the being?
Beautifully said, and you must be tuned into the future, because I think we're going to see something about washing dishes in the not too distant future. And it's also a great segue into the next passage I wanted to look at. Did anybody have anything they wanted to say on these three passages before I change the screen?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to also mention something that it really resonate, like about the second and third passages. It's like in this part becomes noticeable when you dedicate time to yourself, to be in this now. And of course, meditation helps a lot. We are going to talk about later about meditation, but meditation helps a lot in this process as you listen more to yourself and reflect and give yourself the time and allowing yourself to accept what is happening, like synchronicities start to appear. And that's something I think I have here in different of the groups we are collaborating together, and aspects start to or begins to materialize. Sometimes you are thinking about things and then boom, they appear right away. Or you are thinking about a person and they give you a call or send you a message, and there is like where it's like those exactly kind of mental evolution, as they write it here. These extra sensory things start to awaken precisely because you being paying more attention to these emotions and senses. So just wanted to point that out.
So beautiful, much appreciated. And I'm sure synchronicities is something that all our viewers can relate to as well. Much appreciate that. Anybody else have anything else wanted to add on the screen before I change the screen?
Go ahead, Jonathan. We could talk for hours just on one page here.
Infinitely, for sure.
Yep.
But you did talk about how difficult it is for us to comprehend infinity, which I think is a good segue into our next couple passages. This was from January 6, 1991. Quo said, and this has been edited for brevity: "The concept of infinity is impossible. Consider this concept. You must go to the end of all finity and then move onward. Yet as you imagine moving onward, you're imagining a finite concept, which by definition has its own end. Consequently, the closest that the intellectual mind can come to a realization of infinity is a series of finities." This is not infinity. In fact, the nature of infinity is specifically the present moment realized for the first time in its many overtones, undertones, harmonics, and depth. The resonant present moment is infinity and is the home of the self. Which reminds me of one of my all-time favorite passages from Ra. This was in session 7 of the Ra Contact, question 12. Ra said, I think they were referring to UFOs and their appearances in our skies in the form of UFOs. Ra said, "The mystery and unknown quality of the recurrences we are allowed to offer have the hoped-for intention of making your peoples aware of infinite possibility. When your peoples grasp infinity, then and only then can the gateway be open to the law of one." I love the contradiction between what Ra said at the top about the concept of infinity is impossible and what Ra says at the bottom, which is only when your peoples grasp infinity can the gateway be open to the law of one. It sounds like they're being kind of dicks there in some way. I'm not sure. But I guess it's just part of the paradox of third density existence. Todd, do you have any thoughts on either of these passages?
I think these parts are more like about curiosity, if you can define it in a way, and that curiosity, that call to us, maybe when the body, this at least body called that, likes to look at new trends or likes to understand what is happening around and seeing people expression, not really communicating too much through words, but through actions and silence, and sometimes staying quiet. So the mind becomes more peaceful, when things don't resonate with you, as has been repeated in a lot of this material. It's better to let them go and continue. Why do you want to get stuck in this hole? If you were already out there, just go out of it, and because you already fell, so why to keep staying at the same hole? And I think this is important to learn for a lot from experience, and when you don't understand them, they will repeat in different forms. And this create diversity in this hero journey, or in the superhero journey, if you want to call it like that, or whatever role we are playing right now. And this is just more because each person can play millions of roles. And here we could talk about the archetypes. I think that's a big point in the raw material. But that depends on how much attention each person wants to pay and how much curiosity they bring into their own experiences. So, yeah.
I appreciate your bringing the word curiosity in the conversation because I think that is super important. I believe our friends in the Confederation have said more than a few times that oftentimes the questions are actually more important than the answers. And so, yeah, super important teaching, I think, that you're bringing out. Colin, anything to add?
Yeah, I would resonate with that as well. I love that you brought up curiosity, just because that is the driver that allows the creator to know itself. Without that curiosity, it would be static. Creation would be static. It would exist in all its infinite forms, but it would be like a diamond without any light being shown through it. And it's each facet of the diamond is where our light is refracted through, and it brightens and makes the diamond more beautiful. The diamond doesn't grow, it doesn't become more or less because the light was shined through it, but it is more radiant. So something happened. And without that curiosity or that will, that's why the creator created will, or allowed will to be a thing, because it was needed in order to bring meaning to existence.
What a beautiful visual. I really appreciate that. I had not really thought of it that way, but yeah, that all makes perfect sense and gives me a beautiful image in mind.
Yeah.
Jasmine, anything to? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have more, Colin?
Go ahead.
It's beautiful. And again, panelists, just remember, feel free to jump in anytime seems appropriate to ask or share a comment. Jasmine, anything to add?
I loved that analogy, Colin. That was probably the most beautiful way I've heard it put. Infinity for me is one of those, as Todd alluded to, one of those forever mysteries. And I really go to a place of understanding that human conceptualization of time is really by and large inaccurate. So I kind of like to let myself sit there with that for a moment and understand that the way we measure time is just because we're in this particular third density illusion here on Earth. But away from Earth, time is really not what we think it is. And we really truly don't live our lives in a linear fashion. One of the most interesting ways I heard it expressed to me once many years ago is when you think about time, and if you can begin to understand time, then you can see how inaccurate inadequate our brains are to conceptualize infinity. And the way he explained it is, when you think of time, you have a CD. In the old days, we used to have these CDs, and you think and you imagine that the information on the CD is playing like this, around and around. But he said, now just imagine if you had a stack of CDs that are 1,000 miles high. Where are you in that stack? Well, you're everywhere. If you could take a laser and drill all the way through the entire stack of CDs, you could conceivably be anywhere in time. At the same time that you're in another place. And so it gets very confusing and convoluted, but I like to think of time in relation to space. I understand that our nearest star system at our present technology would take about 6,000 years to get there. Well, that's our closest star neighbor. So if you could imagine the end of the universe, how long it would take to get there, or how much time. Well, to me, you begin to understand infinity, and you begin to understand that you really can't understand it. It's just too big to understand. So
yeah, that's why I love the wording that they used in the first paragraph in that passage, I believe, which is the closest your mind can get to infinity is just a series of finities. You think of the biggest thing you can as infinity, and then go a little bigger than that, and just keep going. It's like, ugh, yeah. The mind just, our finite minds, I think, are not capable of comprehending. Just experiencing, maybe, as Colin, I think, alluded to earlier.
Yeah, and I would add also, Jonathan, that first sentence is important to break down in its 6 words, but the concept of infinity is impossible. That's not saying infinity is impossible. It is a paradox, but the concept is what happens in the rational mind. The knowing of infinity is what happens when you understand it and grasp infinity, as Ross says in the last sentence. You're grasping it by being it. And only then can you truly understand the law of one. It's not that we can't seek the law of one and understand aspects of the law of one, but until we kind of step over that line and understand it from that perspective, can we really know the law of one.
Well said. Well said. Which I think might be a good segue into our next set of passages. Anybody have anything else they wanted to add on the screen before I change? Well, let's take a look at a couple passages then on living in the now. On December 29th, 2007, Kuo said, and this has been edited for brevity, "You ask what the benefits are of living this life in the now. The first benefit is that it is the truth, whereas all things of time are illusory. The now contains the door through the great way to intelligent infinity and into the world of time-space. When you are in the now, you are part of all that there is, and when you are centered and focused in the present moment, you are a natural attractor of those things which may come to you for your benefit in terms of your worldly goals. There is a natural law in effect which simply gravitates those entities, energies, essences, and relationships towards you which are appropriate for you just this precious moment. Once one is in this now, one can truly be said to have no ambition and yet to achieve far more than ambitious people achieve, because of the fact that having moved into this point of balance, all things stem from it very naturally. The second benefit of being in the now is that it is from this point of presence that the Creator may radiate through you most efficiently and effectively. We do not wish to encourage you to try to beam light into the world, for that would be doing something of your own will. Consider of yourself as a broadcasting unit. You receive energy, you transmit energy, and in some cases, you transduce energy. This is your natural state. When you are centered in the now, You are in the appropriate place to receive the infinite supply of light energy from the one creator, to shuttle it upwards through your open energy system, up through your body, through your heart, and out into the world through the top of your head. Beautiful passage, and I love the two benefits that they're referring to here in living in the now. One is this idea in the second paragraph about having no ambition, yet able to achieve far more than ambitious people achieve. That's a beautiful magical principle at work there. And the idea of being a crystal, you could say, to transmit and transduce energy from the creator, also a beautiful thing. Colin, any thoughts on anything here?
Plenty. Try to keep it brief. So yeah, and this all just also reminds me again how the paradox exists, but it exists for a reason. It was intentional that this paradox is here for us to wrestle with. The paradox does resolve. There is some peace and knowing that can come from that. But right now we are here to wrestle with it and to illuminate it and our understanding of it through the process of trying to understand it is the work being done right now. I like to, because it's as we look at ourselves as humans, very complex and very logical and rational and analytical. I try to remind myself that, and this is an age-old way to look at problems in life, is like the Chinese and the Native Americans, for example, really put a lot of focus in animals and what we can learn from animals. Well, to me, I have a little puppy. I have a couple dogs, but my little puppy, I like to look in her eyes and realize that she is living in the now. She has no choice not to. She's not as advanced or cognizant of what's going on in the past and future like we are with our version of the brain. Then she is just sitting there living in the moment. I walk out the door, she's not thinking, when's he going to come back or anything. They're just being, and when I do come back, they're excited. Naturally, just that energy, that flow of the creator is just constantly flowing, and there are no blockages, which we put our own blockages up, and like fear and thoughts and trepidation about the future and guilt from the past. Those are all constructs that we create that block that flow of infinite energy. And just surrendering to it is important. I'll cut myself off because it could go, but I did want to talk about faith and surrender and how that plays a role in that too. Just being the empty reed that allows creation to flow through you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing your dogs and puppy into the conversation because, as has been said many times in channeling the sessions over the year, third density is really the only density where we have this veil of forgetting and we don't realize that all is one and that we're part of it. Second density entities like animals and plants, they know it already. So we're the ones who have to learn it. So maybe we can learn from our puppy friends, dog friends. Jasmine, anything to add?
Yeah, Colin, I have 2 dogs, and I said to someone probably a couple of years ago, without knowing it, they've become my real spiritual teachers, because everything you describe is dead on. They just are, and sometimes, like you said, we're human beings. But if we really think about what we're saying, we're really human doings, aren't we? I mean, we're always doing, trying to do more, trying to do this. We have to do better. But if we just stop for a moment and become what we say we are and just be in the moment. And I agree that when I find myself living in the present moment, then all of a sudden it's noise, it's chaos. What I should have done before, what I should do in a year from now, a lot of that is just noise. But when you really try to live most of your life in the present moment, all of that noise fades away. It just disappears. So I really like this passage because, and I love what Colin said because I just thought about my two dogs. I really feel that most problems, not all, but most quote problems that people have would just melt away if they would allow themselves most of their day to just be in this beautiful, endless present moment.
Nice.
Beautifully said.
It is no coincidence, I'm sure, that dog spelled backwards is God, and cat spelled backwards is nothing other than tic tac, I guess, or half. Sorry, cat lovers. I love cats myself too, but that's just funny. Todd, anything to add?
I think we have the dog lovers session today. Okay, so I'm pause up.
Yeah.
And yeah, like cats as well. I had the privilege to experience both situations and to live with them, and those are the best teachers because they are not words. They are just this this side, and then you are just melting in front of them. So thank you for bringing them also into this space. Maybe we can have a podcast with them, like meow meowing or wowing. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think like living in the now is something that has been intensifying in the moment, and these two words are like very like you see the screen is now moment, now moment. They come together. It's like a pair, and it's something that it becomes a decision. You start to validate as you live it. So if you really realize that there is no need to think about things that happened in the past, and to maybe as to stay in the like they happened in the past, and to maybe as in my country town where I live, whip yourself because that's the way humans were taught to live. And at least coming from a Catholic family, that I was very present, or that situation was very present, then it was like everything you did in your past will hammer your present and your future. But in reality, at least what I can say today, in reality, this is something I have been letting go of. And it has been extremely important to me. What happens today stays in today, and precisely also doing what are called daily downloads, like before going to sleep, or simply delivering everything, and that's it. Like you just close the day and that's it. You do not exist anymore, or at least not this dilemma that we have. I have to do this tomorrow, and I did not this today, and I remember this, and it's too late now. No, it's over. The day is over, and it's time to rest. And I think that's something that it really helps a lot. And yeah, because like that's the life I stayed here right now, and then every day is a new day in life. So yeah.
Beautifully said. Yeah, and I think that idea of letting go is a really important part of living in the present moment, living in the now throughout the day, also, not just at the end of the day. Certainly a challenge for me, something I'm still working on. But I think I had one other passage to look at related to living in the now. Did anybody have
Mhm.
anything else they wanted to say on this slide before I change?
Yeah, super quick. That just reminded me, Todd, of when you were talking about how that new day that we get, that is commonly referred to as every day is a new day. The possibilities are endless in the new day. You can let go of what happened yesterday, and you can start anew. That to me is just a reminder of the power and the potential of the now. It's not that we have to wait for tomorrow to get that power back. It's already here. We have that on a second by second basis, that ability to change completely our direction. And I think it's a beautiful thing to, and it's a great thing that we do remind ourselves of. Okay, well, tomorrow I'll deal with it. It's a new day. I'll approach it then. But you do have the power to not wait that long as well.
Well said.
Yeah.
It is as if the universe is created and recreated in every present moment.
Yeah.
every day. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Again, it kind of gets you thinking about infinity. There are an infinite number of present moments in any given day. Shall we take a look at another passage? This was also in the same session on December 29th, 2007. I think it was the main question. The main question was about the present moment. So anyone who wants to learn more, I would say that's a great session to check out in the conscious channeling libraries. In this section, Quo said, "The present moment is that which is. It is the realist focus which a person within third density may achieve. For it is that link with time-space in which all is one, and time goes away, timelessness reigns, and everything occurs now. In a very real sense, this is the world in which we live, or should we say the illusion which we enjoy. All that seems to you to be passing by, to us is occurring in a circular now, so that there is no such thing as past and present and future, but rather there is our choice of which place we wish to insert ourselves in this harmonious and rhythmic dance of the one." Yeah, I love the references to time, space, and space time. I love the references to circular time, where it's not linear, and circular time, past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously. Kind of like the Arrival movie, which we've mentioned many times on this podcast. Great science fiction movie about contact with what appears to be an extraterrestrial civilization that communicates using circular symbols, because to them, time is circular. Past, present, and future are happening all at the same time. Do you have any thoughts on this, Jasmine? Anything from this passage?
Just what I mentioned earlier, the present moment is that which is. What I find, honestly, and I think we're going to talk about meditation, I personally cannot say enough about meditation and mindfulness. For me personally, maybe different for others, but that meditation for me is truly the gateway to a quasi infinity, because in meditation, everything falls away. Everything falls away. And you are simply there in that moment with your music, your incense, hopefully your candles, and you are just present. Now, of course, in our society, we can't live 24 hours a day like that, to be understood, but just carving out for yourself 30 minutes a day to understand that 30 minutes you are experiencing true reality. Everything else is just illusory noise, as I call it sometimes. So yeah, I love this passage.
Yeah, or even 1 minute of meditation, or 2 minutes, or 5 minutes of meditation. If you're new to it, it's a great way to start. Or if you're experienced with it, then 1 minute may well be all you need. And yeah, indeed, I believe that's actually the next section we're going to get into more in depth. Todd, anything to add on this passage?
Well, I think in in this one, is kind of a part about ambitions and desire, and it's not that they become bigger or smaller. Like it's not bigger or smaller, but rather that they become things, and sometimes simply like ideas. Like ideas that you throw out into the scenario, and ideas that you don't want to realize, but still there to be created. And something I heard casually, I think it was in a video, or I don't know, like I saw something like that, and it was like write them down and save them if you want to save them, and then review them later to see how many of those have become reality. So I have been doing that, and it's not that you are going to live in the future, and it's not that you are going to live in the past, or that you are going to stop to doing this. It's simply that you are creating, and it's possibly that many of those creations become reality. And it's really like facts, like I remember, I think each of you when you were a child were doing these letters to Santa Claus, like I want this, and you were, I don't know if you were cutting also out the magazines, So those are ideas, and that's the first steps of creation, you know, like we start with these small things. So if you want to practice, do it, and then you will start to laugh, really. So you don't need, maybe they are not right now in the now, and maybe they are going just to happen where is necessary, because everything has the special time and space for it. If it happens, then the other thing it will happen, and then if it stops, it's not a problem. It's totally fine. So why you have to bother about that? It sounds kind of easy to say, and then go and practice, and then we can have a really nice talk together.
Well said, indeed. You are so chill. You are like one of the most chillest people I've ever met. That's great. Colin, anything to add?
Yeah. Jasmine, you were speaking of mindfulness, and I know we keep teasing meditation, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to say then. But mindfulness, I don't see as being the end result necessarily, or even a result you're supposed to be chasing. It's a metaphysical shift to feel in infinity and understand infinity. It's not something that can happen in the mind, even when the mind is the most quiet, although that is a tool, just like any tool that we use to break down the walls and allow intelligent infinity to come in and to know it. Meditation is a great tool for that, because you're silencing your mind, you're silencing the past and the future thoughts, and you're silencing the sounds around you, and the distractions that come with that, and you're able to actually feel once again, where we feel like we're feeling as we go through life, but we're probably more thinking than feeling on a regular basis. And that's why I'm a little jealous of women. I don't is that I think they're more tuned to feeling than men are in a general sense. I'm not just you know trying to stereotype or anything, but
Oh, it's part of the cultural training. I think it would be
yeah,
fair to say men are taught to not show their emotions or be in
right.
touch.
Right, it's kind of suppressed, and the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and they have different interplays with our genders as they are in this third density. And I find myself being jealous of that ability to just turn off the logical, rational, and turn on the feeling and the creativity and all that, because that's where a lot of the beauty of metaphysics comes from.
Um,
Indeed.
I just have a follow-up to Colin. When I mentioned mind a few minutes ago, a couple things, really interesting, Colin. When I mentioned mind a few minutes ago, and we won't get into this, but mindfulness, if practiced and engaged in, along with meditation, really sets one up to connect with infinite mind. And so by doing the basic mindfulness practices, being mindful when you're washing the dishes, being mindful when you're taking out the garbage, those are tiny, tiny little steps that really helps our human mind, our subconscious, connect to the superconscious. And I don't want to say it's a goal, but it's an inevitability. It's what will happen. As far as men being less in tune with their emotions, I think Jonathan is absolutely correct. Unfortunately, our society has conditioned you to believe that you should be less connected to your feelings and the emotions. But in reality, to be a balanced being and ultimately a balanced light being, you must have the feminine as well as the masculine. I have to have the masculine as part of my divine femininity. So you will get there, I think. Men will get there if they will acknowledge the feminine and embrace it and accept it as part of who and what they are.
For sure. It is a yin yang thing, and I think it would be fair to say that everyone has some amount of masculine and feminine energies in it. It's a matter of acknowledging, being in touch, and balancing. I wonder if the word awareness would be better than mindfulness, since mindfulness does seem to have connotations of brain and
Yeah.
intellectual thinking, whereas awareness is just being aware. I like the part of what they were saying at the very top where they said the present moment is that which is. It's the realist focus which a person within third density may achieve. I mean, if you think about it, it is true, as I think has been said, the present is really the only reality. I mean, the past is not real because it happened in the past. The future is not reality because it happened in the future. The only thing that's reality is the present. And as soon as you start thinking about the present, it's already in the past. So it's a very difficult thing to be aware of what's happening in the present moment. But that's where the magical stuff is, I think. Were you going to say something, Colin?
I don't know if I can take this thought all the way to its conclusion, but something that you reminded me of, Jasmine, was how we are already balanced. We're already perfect. Whether we have interplays or overactivations or underactivations of masculine or feminine or black and white or dark and light or up and down, left and right, all of those things are polarities, but in our whole being, we are all already. So it is already in balance, just like the creator is already fully balanced. It's just the expressions that we take and the paths that we take and the distractions that lead us to think that I'm more this than that or something. But it's all in us. It's just,
Exactly.
it's being aware of it. The awareness of the intricacies of the self and others is very important to remember.
Yeah, I agree completely. And Jonathan already said it, Todd alluded to it as well. We are already, boy, this is going to be very controversial to say, we are already everything that we should be.
Yes.
But the problem is we have been conditioned to believe, unfortunately, and in many cases, this is not to say anything negative, in many cases, people who truly love us are the biggest conditioners of us, let us know that we are not perfect. We have so far to go. We have so much to learn. Just wait until you get older. You'll know what I'm talking about. And so we have been conditioned away from understanding our true divinity. And I think our greatest challenge, whether it's with mindfulness, yoga, meditation, other spiritual practices, our greatest challenge is simply to remember and allow ourselves to be the perfect beings that the one infinite creator created. So you're right.
I don't think there's anything remotely controversial about that. I think that's something we all pretty much agree on, but I know what you mean and I know where you're coming from. And that is indeed the challenge for all of us, is to become who we really truly are.
Yeah.
Deep down. I think we should probably go ahead and keep things moving. Did anybody have anything to add on this passage before we change topics? Sounds good. I did want to let our viewers know there have been quite a few references already to space-time and time-space and circular time and such. We just barely scratched the surface of it here, but we did do a podcast episode on space-time and time-space where we went quite a bit more in depth into it, and it's a great podcast. Check it out on our YouTube channel if you are interested. Otherwise, let's go ahead and look at some passages on something that Jasmine mentioned, and that is meditation. Mm-hmm. On October 12th, 1986, Quo said, "The meditative experience is that state which offers the easiest access to such present moment experiences. For such experiences of the power of the present moment and the perfection of one's being are those which become available to an entity when there is no coloration of past or future or thought of any kind to form a filter through which the present moment must be perceived. Thus, within the present moment experience, one may, in a manner of speaking, not only recharge the battery of one's personal energy, but may discover that the battery is fully charged at all times. And in this discovery, and from this discovery, one may then move into the daily round of activities, inspired and ennobled, shall we say, so that the ability to utilize what has been learned is enhanced, and the ability to gather further lessons available in each present moment is also enhanced. I think it is really a great passage to look at, and it's funny that this was like in 1986, because so many people I know now are fucking exhausted just trying to get through an ordinary day. And I think this part about not only recharging the battery, but realizing that your battery's always charged. You just don't realize it, maybe because your energy centers are blocked and you're not able to feel that natural prana or chi or intelligent energy or the force flowing through you at all times. Any thoughts on anything here, Todd?
Yeah, like I think that is something that also depends on each person's practice, why they want to do an experiment with it, or even in the different practices they want to try in meditation. I think that all of them are valid. There are people who resonate with silence, others with walking, others with writing. There are many meditation practices. And I think, well, silence and music have been very present in this daily meditation practice from this side. And even sometimes when it slips away, or you miss it, the daily practice, or you forget it, it's like you notice, like, you notice that something is different. I wouldn't say that it was good or it was bad, but rather something feels different, and that moment of connection with yourself is very important. It's like you said here is written like you are totally charged, but I think it's very necessary sometimes that you center again with your goal, and with the just with your connection, and that these meditative state, I will say, even happens in dreams and mark the other ethereal compass that also guide us through life. And there is also, I think, maybe in this experience we are really living right now, we still sleeping, and sleeping is so important to us to just banish everything. And that is where more information is coming, and some of us are programmed or pre-programmed or incarnation to get more information there. Maybe you are not the one who can meditate fully in silence. Maybe you are the one who meditate while sleeping, and you rest, and then you get your answers there. So that's also something that people tends to say, like, oh, I'm really bad for meditation. That's not my thing. Yeah. How, like I have to practice 10, 20 years. You don't have to. You don't have even to say that. We are here to experience, and some people experience that in the daylight, sometimes in the nightlight, sometimes in the awakened state, and some others into the sleepy state. So it's up to each single being to take the decisions they believe they are the better for.
Well said, and cannot emphasize that enough, that there's no one correct way to meditate. And Ra, quo, nobody else in the Confederation have ever said that there's one correct or best way to meditate. Walking in nature can be a great form of meditation, playing music, anything, like you said.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we've got some passages talking about that coming up. Colin, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, only just to build on that idea that I can't say that I'm an expert on meditation, but I understand that driving, or like you said, walking in the woods could be a form of meditation. And I would challenge folks who are struggling with what meditation works for me. Ask yourself, where are all my distractions? When am I most distracted? Like if you're driving in a car, are you distracted by the song that's on the radio? Are you distracted by what other people are doing and they're flipping you off for going too slow? Is that your distraction? Are you thinking about the future, the past at that present moment? I mean, driving in a car in silence, just turn your radio off and then see what happens, because your mind will take you there naturally, and you'll start analyzing catalyst or something, but then that at least gets you started on thinking deeper and being in the moment. And then you might realize I zoned out. I'm already where it was a 20-minute drive and it felt like 2 seconds. That zoning out, you were meditating or you were in a trance, so to speak, or hypnotized. It's all very similar stuff, but the benefit you can get during that time that you spent meditating is can be so fruitful. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Driving can for sure be a meditative experience, or as you described it, time travel in a sense, for sure. Jasmine, anything to add?
I think I mentioned a few minutes ago that, meditation for me is a go-to. One of the things that many folks overlook, aside from the spiritual benefits to meditation, there's all kinds of studies that indicate that there can be some pretty amazing physiological and medical reasons to meditate. And I agree with everything that you've said, all three of you, that meditation doesn't have to be formalized. Now, I tend to be in a position where I can sit privately and quietly with my candles and incense and music, but that's not it at all. I'll be real frank with you and tell you that throughout this hour-long discussion or hour and a half discussion, there's a form of meditation called instant meditation, and I've slipped in and out several times while we've been talking. It's all about for me, meditation is all about your focus and focusing your mind. There are times when my meditative practices include disengaging my mind to the degree possible and no thought. But there are times, like during this discussion, where I've taken 3 deep breaths, put my hands on my legs, and slipped into an instant meditation as Jonathan or Colin or Todd were speaking, so that I could focus all of my intention and all of my attention on what you were saying. So walking in the woods, definitely washing dishes, that kind of slips into mindfulness. But where do you draw the line between mindfulness and meditation? To me, they kind of both blend. They actually do. So I personally, there's nothing more I can say that hasn't been said. Meditation is just a staple in my daily life.
Beautiful. Yeah, I do want to add, in the interest of full disclosure, sometimes when my wife is talking to me, I start dissociating as well. I call it meditating, but she doesn't seem to appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
time traveling, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. If I could build on that, Jasmine, before I even found spirituality in a very in the whole sense that I did recently, like after finding the Law of One and all that, I was I always had interests in religion, and I dabbled and I looked around for truths and understanding, but I was never really religious or spiritual for most of my life. But even before finding spirituality, people would ask me like how can you become so, how can you be so calm and so like they people would tell me that just me being around them would calm them, and I'm like, I don't know, I guess. And I put a little thought to it, and I was like, well, maybe I'm just meditating all the time. Maybe I'm meditating and I'm at that wavelength, closer to that wavelength that on a regular basis than some others are who might be more active and ecstatic. Um, and that I thought this morning about when I first found the Law of One. One of the first things I did was looked into like local places that I might be able to learn meditation from. And one of the first things I came across was a Japanese style of meditation called I think it's Renkai. Um, and that is, I think, and all the terminologies I'm not going to bring much in the way of the terminologies because I've kind of forgot them. But the idea of it is just sitting is one of the Japanese words that translates to just sitting, is part of that form of meditation, and it can be done with eyes open. I think some practices are only done with eyes open, and they even do walking meditations. Um, that is something that's really interesting, and I kind of dismissed it as like, no, I want to learn how to close my eyes and meditate and get to like more of like a yogic type of meditation. um, so I just dismissed it and I never participated, but now I'm thinking maybe I should, and maybe that was like my guides telling me that would be a good thing to check out, because meditating in as you're going about your day, washing the dishes, driving, all that, that's a muscle we're building, and can be utilized throughout the day to keep your peace, to keep your grounding, to keep your awareness, all of that.
For sure.
Like if I wasn't focusing, Jasmine, on the last time you were talking, if I wasn't focusing on you, I would have missed that you had a nice little smile in there, and it made me happy just seeing the smile. And I was like, I could have been thinking about my dogs or my kids or something and missed that. And that this is just where our focus is leading, and being aware, and our awareness allows us to bring more in, and illuminate again, that, like I said, that diamond that is the creation. You're illuminating it with all this stuff that you're not ignoring because you are so aware.
Yeah, and I think it would be fair to say that in most normal conversations, people are not really listening that carefully to what the other person is saying. They're thinking about what they're going to say next when it's their turn to speak. At least that's been my experience in a lot of normal conversations.
Yeah.
Speaking of washing dishes for the like 12th time, got another couple passages to look at. Anybody have anything to add on this screen before I change the screen? Sounds good. Well, let's go back to December 29th, 2007. This is like the third passage we've looked at from here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're going to look at that second. First, we're going to look at a passage from January 14th, 1996. And Kuo said, "When we say open to the present moment, we speak of that present moment which is eternal. Within time, the attempt to grasp the present moment is constantly doomed to failure. For your mind, that is your earthly intelligence, and the illusion itself were created so that things would occur in an order. In the eternal present moment, all things exist simultaneously. That which is, and in this fullness of being resides the peace that is so eagerly sought by those who are weary of the passing scene. How can one find this present moment? We suggest often the practice of regular contemplation or meditation, for within silence there is that key which unlocks the doors of attention, and into that sanctum sanctorum of the open heart, silent and listening, there resides the Creator, whose name is love." And then on December 29th, 2007, Kuo said, "Although naturally we do encourage the meditation and the prayer and all those beautiful ways of working in consciousness to discipline your personality and become centered more and more on who you really are, we also encourage you to look for the love and the sacredness in washing the dishes, cleaning the toilet, feeding the cat, and whatever it is that you are doing at that present moment. All of it is part of the dance of the one." And I really appreciate that moment. I think cannot be emphasized enough that meditation isn't just sitting in lotus position in silence or oming or whatever. Literally anything you're doing could be a form of meditation as long as you are in a meditative attitude or state of wanting to be at one. Cleaning the toilet, still working on that one, but yeah, could well be. Colin, anything to add on this?
Yeah, it just reminds me of the idea that so many of these things are tools to understand the creator, or for the creator to know itself. And like when you look at a leaf on a tree and you even reach out and touch it, you're feeling it as it is now. But to understand infinity, you would know that as you're touching it, you're also touching something that is part of infinity and part of timelessness. And that is a cosmic energy of the light, the photosynthesis that plant does, where the original material for that leaf came from the earth. The earth came from the logos, from the sun. That sun came from the larger logos. It's all this large infinity that has brought itself down to one little point that you can appreciate and hold in your hand. And that's amazing. But that's the proof in the pudding of that little thing, and the smallest quantum of reality is everything and part of everything and infinity.
That awareness could happen at any given moment, anytime. Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you. Jasmine, anything to add?
How can one enter the present moment? When I read that, I'm thinking, well, the fact of the matter is there is no place where you can enter the present moment. You are in the present moment. I think what keeps us separate and apart from it is the resentments that we hold for this present moment. And so when you think about something like, okay, cleaning the toilet, not most people's favorite thing to do. But when you approach it with that attitude that, oh my God, I hate this. I don't know why I have to do this. There has to be a better way. There should be an easier way. But yet you are cleaning the toilet. That is the present moment. I think for many of us, many of the challenges and issues and problems we face is because we don't embrace the present moment and what is arising in that moment. We approach it with resentment, and in some cases with all out hatred. So for me, living in the present moment is, again, accepting whatever is arising in that moment. What else can you really do except accept it? Now, that's not to say that if there's something you need to do to change whatever situation is happening in that moment, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to change it. But at the end of the day, do we understand that it is our own resentment and hatred for what this present moment brings is actually what's causing us distress? So you hate cleaning the toilet. Okay, clean the toilet in a mindful way and accept the fact that you enjoy going to a clean lavatory. You enjoy the nice smells. And so this is just part of what you have to do to get to that eventuality, and simply accept it. So for me, as I said way at the very beginning, I tend to look at things, especially things that I don't particularly enjoy doing, and I immediately go to a place of, okay, this is an opportunity for me to be mindful. For my shed that we're in right now, I mixed and helped pour 60 bags of concrete. And my God love his heart, my husband, and it was hot, complained the entire time. This is difficult. This is hard. I don't know how people do concrete work. And I thought, oh, this is a moment that I can practice mindfulness. And so the bags are 60 pounds, a little bit too heavy for me to lift all at once. So I devised a scheme of taking a cup and scooping out a cup of the dry mix, putting it into the mixer, scoop out another cup, put it into the mixer. So I spent a couple of days, couple weekends in a mindfulness practice. And for me, I quite frankly, now I enjoy concrete work.
Nice. Yeah, that's beautiful. 60 pounds. That's a lot. Yeah, for sure. I know for me, I mean, I just like joking about cleaning the toilet, but cleaning the toilet literally doesn't take me more than 20 seconds or 30 seconds at most, at least the way we're doing things. But any task that I want to do that I don't really enjoy doing that much that takes more than a few minutes, I'll usually put some music on, and the music always lifts my spirits and helps me keep an open heart. I think for me, the big thing about being in the present moment is opening my heart as much as I can each day that I can. Todd, got anything to add?
Yeah, just like tiny thing. I think it's sometimes you might have many expectations, and precisely that's what sometimes leave us on the moon like crazy. And the expectations. And when you don't enter, and when now I repeat that is a lot, it's like everything. Entering the meditation process and watching, at least for myself, entering the meditation process is like a movie. You arrive in silence, you sit down, you close your eyes and start to see what is appearing. Like this theater inside yourself. And that's more than enough, at least for me. And with time, you will realize it's like going like to the movies, the silent movies. You start a new movie every single day. You don't have to pay to go to the cinema. You have the cinema already in your head. You have this the silent cinema that no longer exists, at least not here where I live. You cannot do that. So it has been becoming something so nostalgic, but we can create that moment within ourselves, and it's super valuable. It's really super valuable, and simply realizing about that you can find meditation in everything. You were mentioned so many things today, and we have talking about so many things today, and that I think is just is like kind of like those elements that are kind of boring, as you say, like cleaning the toilet or doing this or doing that. That for me also mark a process and mark paths, and mark routes for exploration. And when you focus on those paths and those routines, it's like when you start to ask yourself, like, why I'm doing this today? Why? You just sit in front of your mirror and you are brushing and you're like thinking like about the butterflies, and then you're like, what I'm thinking about butterflies. And that's leading to the discovering process every single day. And that's meditations, and it's good to discover them. Like we choose to be like that. We choose to see that in that way.
I really appreciate you bringing that up because I hadn't really thought of it for this particular episode. But yeah, I think now that you mention it, being mindful, being aware of your thought process is super important, specifically the way that one might typically respond to things or catalysts that trigger an emotional reaction. Oftentimes, I think it happens because we're just not aware of how we're just redoing subconscious programming to react in a certain way to things. And as I think you're saying, being aware of your thought process is more in being able to change them, reprogram yourself. That's a big deal. Yeah, for sure. Anybody else have any other thoughts on anything here? Really enjoyed the conversation on meditation, everything that's been said.
Yeah, sure do. Yeah, Todd, it was a great reminder of the experience of meditation, and what it can be like sitting down at a movie. It made me think, well, for a movie, there are, if you look at the credits, there are many people who created that movie. Even if you just looked at the long list of producers alone, there's at least 5 to 6 producers on every movie. Well, you can think of yourself as a producer of your own movie, and that's fine. But I like to remind myself and others that we are not alone, even if we are not spiritually awoken, and inviting them in, because we maybe don't believe they exist, but they're still there. But they can only help us, and they can only come in and work with us if we invite them. So that's where that awakening is very important. The spirituality of a person is important, because then you realize that they are out there. They will answer your calls and prayers. And while sitting in meditation, sometimes it's important to remember that not everything that you're seeing, quote unquote, seeing or hearing or feeling, is you. A lot of it is you, your will, your ego, or whatever else is going on with your novelty of your soul and your spirit. But it is also everything else. And the more you invite, and don't forget to allow them to depart at the end of meditation too. If you invite something in, you need to give it the respect to let it depart as well. Otherwise, you're acting more service to self, where you're inviting things in and keeping them and enslaving them, so to speak. So be careful of that. But you inviting, even just subconsciously inviting somebody like Saint Germain into your meditations, or Jonathan Tong into my meditations. The principle of Jonathan is welcome in my meditations. Well, great. That might actually trigger something, like you said, a butterfly thought. Was that just you thinking of butterflies because you like them, or was that possibly Jonathan or Saint Germain or Yeshua putting that, like urging that little idea of a butterfly in, just to remind you, to make it impactful in your meditation? So when you go on later from your meditation, the next time you see a butterfly and it flies over to where you needed to clean the gutters, you're like, oh, that's them saying that I need to go clean the gutters. That those are the hints that's how the angels work,
Right.
in that way. And it's just allow yourself to be open to it, and I think great things can come from that.
Super important that I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think of, that idea of making those connections and asking for help, which I believe we're going to be looking at in some passages in the not too distant future. Anyone else have anything else they wanted to add on this before we change topics? Sounds good. Did want to remind our viewers, for as much as we've been talking about meditation today, we're just barely scratching the surface on it. So we did do a great podcast episode on meditation a while ago, and I believe Jasmine was one of the panelists on that episode. So if you are one of many folks who haven't really quite settled into a meditation practice yet and would like some tips on different ways to try out, I encourage you to check it out. Otherwise, let's take a look at a passage on experiencing the present moment. On September 13th, 2008, Quo said, "There is an ecstasy which comes when the spirit is ready to be honed in its focus and dull care flies away. When the spirit gathers its feet under it and surges into a full and vertical existence within, the whole energy body begins to sing when this begins to happen, and where before there was a flat and pleasant landscape of things to do and people to see, now you are at the cutting edge of the present moment, and anything is possible." On May 7th, 2002, Quo said, "Each moment contains not only love, but perfection. If one were to investigate all of the energies that you have added themselves into that time period, which you call the present moment, if you were able to investigate your own experience leading up to that moment, any such moment would offer you the opportunity of making contact with the one creator, of experiencing the full presence of the one creator. Thus, the use of catalyst is the variable which offers to each entity more or less of this opportunity to realize the perfection and the love contained in each moment. Thus, if one is able to fully utilize the catalyst that is presented to one, at any time that one is able to do this, the doors to infinity open for you." As always, I love the visuals. I love the use of words here, and this whole thing about the energy body beginning to sing is just a beautiful visual. And this part about being at the cutting edge of the present moment, and anything is possible. Reminds me of a book I read a long time ago called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I don't know if any of you guys have read it or any of our viewers have read it. It was a while ago. I believe that book was written in the 1970s, 80s or something. But he refers a lot to the cutting edge of awareness, which I think would be a fair idea of where the present moment is. Any thoughts on this, Jasmine?
The first thing that caught my eye in this passage was the sentence that you just repeated. The whole energy body begins to sing when this happens. I understand, or from what I understand, with meditation, you actually do regular meditation, you actually do raise the frequency of your energy body. So the human energy field, your meditation can actually raise that frequency. The higher your frequency, the closer you are to the frequency of love. And so that could possibly be why he said, why they say that the whole energy body begins to sing, because you're closer and closer and closer to the one infinite creator. And that really is a point at which you begin to understand, I think, and appreciate the value of your meditation, your mindfulness, but more importantly, your commitment to being present most of the day. That's when you really start to appreciate it. Because one day you'll notice that, wow, if this had happened to me 2 years ago, if that person had cut me off on the freeway or pushed their cart in front of me in the grocery line 2 years ago, I remember how I would have reacted. I remember how I did react. Now, it's okay. It's not a problem. And I think that's one of the benefits of being present and staying present as often as you possibly can. You're lighter. If I can use that word, I'm just trying to look for words that describe the feeling that you come to. And for me, it's just lighter. It's like, okay. And understand that's not to say that there may not be times when you have to act quickly and decisively in an emergency situation. You don't just, see your goat, get his head stuck in the goat fence and go, oh, that's okay. No, you have to quickly act and save poor Sasha's life. But let those times be infrequent, hopefully. And just be in that place that you cut me off on the freeway, dude.
For sure.
It's okay.
I think the way you worded earlier made a lot of sense to me. You were talking about raising your vibration until you're more closely in alignment or with the vibration of love and one infinite creator. And it reminded me of what Colin was saying earlier about how people just seem to feel at peace around them because probably just pick up on those vibrations, that frequency. It's a beautiful thing. Todd, anything to add?
I'm just going to go very briefly on this one. And I think it's just first find that you start with yourself, feeling this, inside yourself. And there is this exercise I have tried sometimes, and it's just looking at yourself at the mirror. Or you can start with 10 or 15 minutes, but if you go like longer, the results are going to be better. And just sitting and looking in the mirror, and there you see the clarity of being and be part of this, the thing you create, and accept it as it is. And then you will start to discover a lot of things that are happening about it. And then you will start to discover what it love means to you. Do I love myself? And I'm aware enough to see myself in the mirror and say to myself, hey, I love you. And this is love. This creation is love. I think it's an aspect I'm still working on this experience, like just face yourself. And also something I was talking today with someone confidentially, and we were talking about reincarnation. So how many times do we come here to confirm an experience? Things that might still not maybe clear, and then catalyst, as is also mentioned here shortly, will be there always. Always. This is like always like the sugar on every single thing. And of course, if you decide, you will continue and continue and continue and come back and enter again until you get the experience solid in every single part, and it becomes real. So there are many concepts and ideas that we can be included in all these passages. But to feel that ecstasy and to feel all this love and to experience the now, check yourself every single day in the mirror and say like, hey, beautiful being, I love you. Thank you for being awake today. And I remember something I saw even in Jim's house, where all the sticky notes with messages for yourself. And I was like, oh my God, this is such a simple exercise. Why not to try? And since there, I'm trying that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, and I appreciate your reminding us about reincarnation too, since I think it would be fair to say that the vast majority of people, at least in the United States, have never thought about reincarnation for more than, I don't know, a couple seconds, never really taken it seriously. And yeah, for those of us who have spent the time trying to find answers to the big questions about the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, yeah, reincarnation makes a big difference in how you approach this life, for sure. Colin, anything to add?
Yeah, I'm going to focus on one small thing from here, but both of these paragraphs or passages are very powerful, and there's a lot to learn from these. I would suggest that some folks go down the path of the second for passage, talking about contact with the one creator. That's a whole subject on its own, right? um, I'm gonna ignore that for now and focus on what Jasmine mentioned. The whole energy body begins to sing when this begins to happen. I have the privilege of having a musical background. um, I So anytime singing or music or anything like that comes into the idea of this spiritual metaphysical conversation, it just reminds me that the whole creation is a symphony. We are all vibrations, and different distortions of those vibrations going at different wavelengths. And like what you said, Jasmine, um, I think that one needs to be careful when talking about raising their vibration, um, and thinking that there's some kind of like gaining of a certain vibration and forgetting or releasing of other vibrations, because the remembering that all the vibrations are beautiful, like high and low, middle, I like to think of it like on a 6 string guitar, you've got the high E string and the low E string. Just because the high E string has a higher pitch doesn't mean that it's any better or worse than the low E string. They're both beautiful and they have different effects on us. You can tell that, but you go to a EDM concert, you listen to all that bass resonating through your body. That's a very low frequency as far as music is concerned. But it's definitely different than listening to a beautiful soprano sing a high pitched song. They're different, but they're not bad, when
Awesome.
contrasted with each other, or good either. They're, it's all a symphony, and where we play a role in it, even if we came into this incarnation as the bad guy, the antagonist to all the other protagonists. I'm here to stir the pot. I'm here to cause chaos and break people's hearts and maybe even murder people, to go to that extreme. And that's my role. But it is a vibration that I'm offering to the creation so that it can have that polarity of, you can't know the light without having the dark to contrast it with. So there it is. It's
Awesome.
a beautiful symphony.
Yeah, point well taken. I'm a music lover myself, so that resonates greatly with me and reminds me of paintings too. You can't just use all the happy, bright colors in a painting. I mean, you could, but to really appreciate a variety of paintings, you need everything from the lighter tones to the darker
Yeah.
tones.
And trust me, I get it all the time where I'll say, I don't know, like, oh no, that person had a fender bender, and person next to me is like, oh, I feel so bad for them, and I'm sitting here saying, I don't feel bad for them. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but how many lessons can they learn from that? How to drive better, how to be sympathetic to the person they hit, or sympathetic to the person that hit them, or there's so much metaphysical spiritual learning that can come from that. I look at it as not a bad thing. It's a thing that you can, it's our choice to label it bad or good. But
For
really,
sure.
neither are true. It is being, it is existence, it is the moment, and it has
For sure.
infinite potential to be whatever it is. So I get so many weird looks. It's like when something bad happens, somebody will say, you don't think that's a bad thing? I'm like, no, not really. Not when you really get
Well,
down.
it's easy to say when it happens to somebody else. It's a
Oh,
little harder to say when it happens to you. But if you can still keep that same attitude when it happens to you, that is for sure a beautiful thing.
yeah.
If I could just kind of follow up on that a little bit. Um, when we talk about the human energy field, and right now I'm specifically thinking about the work of a kinesiologist. His name is David Hawkins. And there's, again, not going to get into the science of it, but there's been a number of studies that have shown in measuring the human energy field that we do as humans vibrate generally at a certain frequency. Well, what some of the research has uncovered is that people who vibrate at the lower frequencies, there are certain behavioral patterns that one can see, certain emotional patterns that one can see. So if you're HEF, if your consciousness level is about 100 to 150, for example, you may be a person that experiences extreme polarities in the way you see things. You may hate people. You may be angry. You may suffer feelings of disappointment and disenfranchisement. But the higher your energy field, what they've discovered, you experience different emotions. At the higher energy fields, you experience peace, you experience joy, you experience love. So when I say meditation and mindfulness and being aware, present moment awareness helps move your energy field, your consciousness level higher, it does move it to different emotional and behavioral states.
For sure.
So again, we're in third density, and we do still live in a world of duality. So if one thing is good, then another has to be bad. And that's not the case. That's not the case at all. That's not what I meant. The simple fact of the matter is, if your consciousness level is 150, you are angry. You do experience disenfranchisement or feelings of guilt. And if you're okay being like that, then I am not one to suggest you shouldn't be. But the point is, there is something on the other side of that. And there is joy, there's peace, there's love, there's happiness. And how do you get to those places? By raising your consciousness level. So I didn't mean to indicate that one is good and one is bad. An A flat is not as good as a D, whatever it is, a D flat or whatever. Not at all. It's just that these are states of beings. They simply are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't mean to indicate that you did insinuate that, but I just think it's so important to remember that even the bad is good and the good is bad. If you were to raise your energy to a point, it's like a new age trap, right? Where folks think I just have to be positive all the time and do good things and feel love in my heart, and that's all that matters. They're forgetting and missing all of the the fundamental things that happen on the other side of the yin yang. They're not even spending any time appreciating how something good can come from a bad situation, because they just ignore all bad situations, and that's a spiritual bypass or a disservice to yourself. Yeah.
Right. Yes, it's about time we brought spiritual bypassing into this conversation, because I believe we have alluded to it a number of times. But yeah, that's a good term. I've only grown to appreciate in the past year, I think.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the clock and seeing we're coming up on 2 hours, and we still have like at least 5 more passages to go through. So viewers, always want to encourage you to hit the pause button and put this in the watch later list if you want, if you don't feel like sitting through the whole thing. That's why we divide our episodes into chapters, so you can always pick up where you left off and skip through as you wish. So if it's okay with you folks, I would like to take a look at a few passages on finding the present moment. This was from November 28th, 2004, and Quo said, "In the world of love, one begins with the knowledge that all is well, and this pulls one into focus in the center of the present moment. In truth, as we said earlier, it almost seems negligent or criminal within the society in which you find yourself to approach issues from a standpoint of love. It does not seem prudent or sensible to stay in the present moment, and yet anything but the present moment is an illusion of the mind. All that is truly yours to do with, to exert control over, or to make choices within is this present moment. So if you take that image of the self in the present moment as the coin and look to see what the heads and tails of that coin are, archetypically speaking, it is very clear and shining in its simplicity. On one side is love, on the other side is fear. On the one side is expansion into infinite present with infinite possibilities. On the other side is contraction into a knot, and the determination that stems from that contraction to control, to be aggressive, and to make things safe." Really beautiful passage that they have said many different times in many different ways, but I really think it cannot be overemphasized that, yes, so much of what we are about in third density is learning how to choose love over fear, since there's so many things happening in our social, political sphere that can easily cause one to go into this contraction of fear. But to choose love on the other side as an expansive force. I think that visual of expansion with love versus contraction from fear, I find that a super powerful thing to look at. Any thoughts on that, Todd?
Oh, yes.
Any thoughts on this passage?
Yeah. Like, I think that's made me think so much. I actually have that written on the fridge about this song that I often listen to it, and it confidentially says something like, "God hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but the spirit of love acting as is weren't here." And well, this is for me precisely seeing that each little thing that's out there, um, like, it's just simply causing a sensation, or like, is giving us this information, whether high or low, because it's just information, it's just higher or low, and can always be observed with acceptance. Like, just accept it. That's the first step. Accept it, and from there, love surely will appear, acting as it was not there. Like acting like, and in that moment is when you start to laugh.
Well said. Yeah,
You
and
start to suddenly just smile with yourself, and then people are like, "What is going on?" And you're like, "No, it's just fine." Like, you're reflecting in the moment.
indeed. Yeah, it has been said that acceptance is key on the path of service to others, and control is key on the path to service to self. So learning how to accept and let go, I would agree, is super important for anyone on the STO path, as it were. Colin, anything to add?
Just that I love the reminder of the polarization that's needed, the sides of the coin. Um, Love and fear are both sides of the same coin, the same one balanced creator, and we're all playing our parts in that. And whatever polarization we have, whether it be extreme or somewhere in the middle, um, plays a role in allowing the creator to know itself more fully, rather than just knowing itself as a static thing that where everything is possible, infinitely possible. We are actually living through those possibilities. We are going through the library that is creation, picking out a book and interacting with that story as we read through it and identifying with it. That book could have stayed on the shelf, and many do, and they never get experienced. Although in the infinite nature of creation, I imagine that they all get experienced sometime, somehow, some way, but maybe not by us because we're novel, we're separate individuals. So our path is important to the creator because it is novel. It's not like everybody else's path. If everybody's path was the same, it'd be boring. So there you have it.
Yeah, so beautifully said. I would like to think life is a choose your own adventure book that you are writing at the same time that you are reading it.
Yep.
Anything to add, Jasmine?
Of the very first sentence in this passage, in the world of love, one begins with the knowledge that all is well. That really asks a lot. That asks a lot of people. I don't know if as a race we are there yet, because watching snippets of news reports and things, it appears that so many people out there just do not believe that all is well. So that's really all I have to say on that. Is we're not quite there yet, but boy, can you just imagine what the world will be like when we can see things happen, know that things are going on, and just first accept, like Todd said, that all is well, all is just as it should be in this present moment. And then if there is something to be done about it, do something from that space, not from a place of resentment or railing against what the present moment is bringing, but from the point of all is well in the grand cosmic scheme of things, in the tapestry of the universe. Everything is just the way it should be. But maybe I could step in and pull Sasha's head out of the goat fence and move on with my day.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. That is the challenge for everyone, to decide for themselves how to respond to things that they see around them that would lead them to believe that all is not well. In a sense, I definitely agree with you that it's a matter of accepting that all is well and not worrying about things that seem terrible. But on the other hand, I think it's also like you're saying, if you see someone experiencing pain and suffering, whether it's a goat with their head stuck in the fence or people who are being treated cruelly, then I don't think that we're being called to not say anything about it or not do anything to help relieve pain or suffering. But as you said, I think coming from a place of love as opposed to a place from fear, that I would think is a super important part. Were you going to say something, Colin?
Yeah, I think you said it without saying it in a certain way, Jasmine. I think there's a sticking point that the word well means good. It doesn't. They are different words. Well means that everything is okay, and in the whole creation as a whole. Good is a polarity contrasted with bad. The creation cannot be not well. We're lucky in that, and that's where it's easy to actually have faith and peace. When you really get to that point, to a lot of people, faith is a difficult thing. But when you realize that the creation can't be unwell, then then is a great place to be. You're like, oh, everything's actually fine, even though there is good and bad in the world, and there's things that we can do to bring love into bad situations. That love in the moment is something that Ra and Cole and everybody else harps on so much because it's important. The present moment can have a lack of love or an abundance of love, and it is within our power to bring love to a moment, or let it shine brighter, or do the opposite. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing that we have that kind of power to bring love into any moment.
For sure. Well said. And a good reminder that we did podcast episodes on that as well. We did a podcast episode called All Is Well, looking at all of different passages on that from different angles, and podcast episode on love over fear, how to choose love over fear when that's a really difficult thing to do. Encourage your viewers to check it out. Can we take a look at a second passage here? This is from May 21st, 1995, and Quo said, "As the sands of the sea, as the stars in your sky, just so infinite are the shining spirits which are embodied within this creation, who turn their glowing faces toward the Creator in praise and thanksgiving. At this time, many, many of those not incarnate in physical vehicles flock within the inner planes of your globe. To those who ask for help, they flock by the millions to offer their candle power to heighten the inner light of those in need. Yours is third density. Ask for help, and help will be given you. Reach out the hand, and it will be full of invisible but real love. You are loved not because you have achieved, but because you exist, a child of the infinite Creator. You are enfolded, snuggled by invisible nurturing arms. Every cell of your body is perfect. Your truth is that all is perfect. There is no striving necessary, for all is well. We are motes that dance in the sunlight, but we love you with our whole heart. Ask for help, serve each other, and the light generated shall be beautiful indeed. As you suffer, as you experience loss and limitation, all is well. Turn often to the perfection, to the integrity, and to the healing health of praise and thanksgiving within the present moment. For all that you see and know and do is done upon holy ground. That is the floor beneath the scenery." It's one of the things that I've always appreciated about Quo, the imagery and the poetic language that you don't really get from Ra, who tends to be a little bit more technical, certainly more concise in their responses to questions. But yeah, it goes back to what I think Colin said at some point about asking for help in your meditation and know that it's there. Motes that dance on the sunlight, little dust particles shining in the sunlight coming in through your window, the floor beneath the scenery. What beautiful visuals. Any thoughts on anything there, Colin?
Yeah, just the same, that it's beautiful, and it's just another reminder of we're not alone in this. And then yeah,
Yeah.
that's the scariest place to be, is when you have no spiritual outlook, no understanding of reincarnation or life after death. And I found, even when I was not in a spiritual place in my life early on, that even though I wasn't resonating with religions as I saw them, I of course saw that it seems like they had some things they were getting right or good that resonated with me, but other things it didn't. So I just, moved on and focused more on science and how that answered questions about why we're here and how everything is made. But to come back and to know that there is more, and there is help, and there is love outside of you, that all you have to do is invite it in. um, it's just a great reminder. That's all I really
But it
take.
takes faith, because there's nothing that's going to show up on scientific instrumentation or
Right.
your 5 sentences that tells you there. It's something
Right.
that you have to take on faith, like so much else.
Yep. And the acceptance that mystery is a good thing as well. I was just thinking the other day that mystery is just another polarization. It's the opposite of knowing. So knowing might be, doesn't matter what you put positive or negative polarization to either, but you could say knowing is positive and mystery is negative. Well, without that mystery there would be no seeking. We would either know everything already or not care to know anything. Both are bad or unwell in the creation. That's why the creation needs polarity in order to know itself better. And so, understanding that, you understand that there always has to be mystery. There never will not be some mystery, because source, the creator, God, whatever, would not allow it, because then the creation would be meaningless. So thank you for mystery. It's fun to chase, and the chase is the meaningful part, but there it is.
Yeah, and apparently it never ends because Quo has said millions and billions of years ahead of us in evolution as they are. They say, yeah, we don't know either. It's a mystery to us too. Every time we think we understand reality, it just kind of like recedes into the distance. And
Right.
it's like chasing the carrot on the stick. It's
Yep.
hilarious. Anything to add, Jasmine? Any thoughts on anything here?
Asking for help. I think one of the challenges that so many people face is, honestly, some people don't feel that they're worthy. They don't feel that they're worthy for help. And so many of them will never ask. Some people may feel that they have done too many things in their lives that are wrong, or and I don't like using these words, but wrong or wicked or evil. And so the one infinite creator, many people refer to this energy as God, is not going to help them. And so I think in order for people to benefit from the help that's available to them, is you have to ask, and you have to know that no matter how far you've gone or how far you think you've gone from the one infinite creator, you really never have. It is impossible. It is impossible for you to separate from the one that is all, because you're a part of this great dance of energy. So I would just encourage people that, no matter where you're at, yes, help is there, but you have to take the first step. And the first step is saying, I surrender. I'm lost. I don't know what to do anymore. Please help.
Yeah, and hopefully don't wait until you hit rock bottom to ask for help, because as you said, it's there all the time, but free will is paramount in the universe, and entities who can help are not going to help if you don't ask for help. They're not going to violate your free will. So that asking part is so important. And yeah, I agree. It's sad that so many people feel they're not worthy of it. And I really hope they are able to find a way out of that. Todd, anything to add?
I don't really. Just that text is self-explanatory, and each of you are just saying more than enough. So I think it's totally fine. I'm agree with this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I actually have one more passage that, again, I know we've been looking at a lot. This is a lot of reading, but there's so much beautiful imagery in this one. I just couldn't cut it either. This one is from November 7th, 1999, and believe it or not, this has been edited for brevity. Quo said to you, "The present moment comes to you and stays with you. It is catching the magic of letting go of the past and the future that is the trick. How to catch the self on the hinge of the present moment, how to recapture the self from consensus reality. This instrument has often felt it useful to use the sounds within its experiences on a daily basis to encourage mindfulness, the striking of the clock, the ringing of the phone. If one is in a school situation, the bell between classes. These sounds are helpful reminders, or they can be made so. There are many ways to slip out of consensus reality and into the kingdom of the Father, as this instrument would call it, to join the dance of the flowers and the trees and the stars and the wind and the rain. Some have found music to bring their hearts back to the present moment. Some find the present moment in the exhaustion of dance. Some find it within the repetition of outer observances. We invite you to a land which is one turn past tomorrow and just a few doors down from yesterday. We invite you to open and empty yourself and to ask, to open, to be empty, and to ask. Each time that you feel that you would wish to enter the present moment, be open, become empty, and see what happens. We would encourage each to use meditation with regularity in order to seat and regularize this process, and we are always glad to be with you in that meditation. I love, again, that imagery of we invite you to a land which is one turn past tomorrow and just a few doors down from yesterday. Such a beautiful imagery, and cannot emphasize enough, everything we've looked at came through the process of channeling, and the person who was saying all this stuff really didn't know what words were coming out of their mouth as they were saying them. It's just beautiful wherever this stuff comes from. It's beautiful. Any thoughts on anything here, Jasmine?
Like I said before, I keep repeating myself. Stepping into the present moment can be as simple as asking yourself, what is beautiful and perfect in this moment right now? And the interesting thing is, when you ask those types of questions of yourself, and as you continue to train your subconscious to connect with your higher self, you'll get an answer and you'll be right there in the moment. So it really does, it seems difficult, but I don't really think it is difficult. And again, the other question that you can ask if you're feeling tense or stressed is, what problem do I have right now? And just sit back and allow the answer to come. You'll get no answer. In most cases, you'll get no answer. But when you ask, what is beautiful and perfect about this moment right here, right now? Usually you'll get a flood of answers if you allow yourself to be open to receive.
And I think that is key, being open to receive, for sure. Agree 100%. Todd, anything to add? I think I'm getting a no. Oh, microphone is off. Colin, anything to add?
Yeah. Yeah, nothing super specific other than, yeah, just allowing yourself to be that catcher in the baseball game or the receiver in a football game. Like there's so many things happening around you, but you're making a choice, a conscious choice to surrender and be open to it. And it's just such an important thing to remember that is it within your ability to do. And the grounding that's mentioned here, the striking of the clock, the ringing of the phone, things like that. Find what works for you. If you feel that you want to enjoy that present moment, find what it is that brings you to that present moment. If that doesn't interest you, fine. If you don't want to work in the present moment and you want to work in the past and future all the time, well, that's your choice. And there's good in that too. But this is what they're trying to express through these passages and channelings. It's filtered through who's asking the questions, and these are seekers asking the questions. So we're not saying that anybody listening to this needs to be a seeker, and go with what feels right to you. But that is why we get into these conversations and have these study groups and podcasts, because we here are seekers, and we're discussing this from the standpoint of seeking, and all of this is just so invaluable. It sucks that sometimes along the way they give us answers that are very confusing, but there's value to from that too. Sometimes if you're just given all the answers and you think, oh, I have all this knowledge, I'm there, right? I passed the finish line without even trying. I mean, knowledge is half the battle. When they give you a response that you have to stop and think about and contemplate, that's more useful than something that they just give you the answer to.
For sure. For sure. And if you don't seek them, how can you find? You do have to do that much. I did want to say something about the sound, since I know a number of folks in the Law of One community are sound healers or somehow use sound as part of their spiritual practice. And it did remind me that I for sure use oming as part of my meditation practice, because that sound, using that sound and resonating that sound definitely helps me get into that present moment state. And that sound of Om has been likened both in Hinduism and both by the entity known as Quo and Ra as the music of the spheres. It's that music that I think Colin was referring to. It's the music of the universe. It's the music of all the spheres and galaxies and stars and planets moving around. And so vibrating in that same frequency, to me, helps me vibrate in tune with the universe. Just wanted to put out that for someone who's thinking about that as meditation. Anybody else have anything to add before we look at our last topic in our last couple passages?
Something like here is very, very exact written. Those are invitations. No one has to do something. No one has to, and no one needs to. This is not the at least it's not what we think, because like since we were a child, our parents tend to, you have to, you need to, you must do it. No, we don't. Like we don't. If we wish, we can, and that's exactly using the free will. Something that is kind of on the side table always. It's like free will. Can I use that one? Yes. And those are invitations, and it's just up to you if you want to do it. If you want to enjoy life, and if you want to maybe enjoy it a little bit less, and be exactly the joy you want to have. Like this joy that it drives you to continue on the path, and that's find your north and go with it. But it's just an invitation. Nothing in this life is obliged or it has to be done. Not at all.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, thank you for adding that.
And on that note, let's finally end with a few words of encouragement from the entity known as Quo to lighten up. On October 13th, 2009, Quo said, "As you become more used to viewing your experiences from a certain point of view, in which you are almost, as this instrument would say, playing the game of life, you will find that your witnessing self becomes ever stronger, and your keen appetite to take on such experiences as the coworker being cruel to you becomes so strong that you find yourself with the balm of Gilead at your hand, and you are not caught up in the negative feelings that surround that cruel action that has been done to you, but rather you're dancing with the energies that would keep your heart open and would see him, even though it seems almost impossible, as the creator, as part of you, and you part of him or part of her. There may come a time within incarnation when you balance at the gateway to intelligent infinity, seeing your life as a whole thing, one integrated entirety, and as part of the Godhead principle. It may well come to you and say to you, and this is good. Hold those moments dear and remember them, because they are the truth, and then you shall plunge back again into cycles. We wish we could give you the good news that one's work is hard, and yet finally it is done. Yet within incarnation, your agenda shall always be to attend to the present moment and dance with it with love." Beautiful passage, and I love the reference to the game of life. They have used that phrase more than a few times, and Carla used it a lot in her Living the Law of One book, looking at life as if it was a video game, since in many ways it is. And yeah, I love the way they use that here. Especially the balm of Gilead. That's something that has stuck with me a lot. I believe it's a biblical reference, but it's like a balm, a healing for your heart and for your soul and for your body, and reminds me of some potion that you might pick up on your quest if you're playing a video game. And it is a real thing that can be very helpful to all. So that's just one of many things that I love about this passage. Any thoughts on anything here, Todd?
Well, like I think like this is just more than practice. It's just practice and practice and be with yourself. Just like they say here, keep your heart open. Sometimes we tend to think, hey, is that really on the heart or is that in the mind? Well, be an observer and just check often yourself, like where is that feeling coming from? You know, like it's also said that our heart somehow it starts in our stomach because there are all the feelings and all the things are happening there. So yeah, that might be a good beginning if you are not feeling your heart and you think like, oh no, you know, like that's so romanticism. How can I open my heart? Well, don't take it literally. That is different for every single being, and yeah, we are more than ready, and we decided to be at this certain point of life or at this certain point of evolvement in this planet we call Earth, but it's just our temporary home because we came here to take a decision, and it's up to you. And if you want to dance or if you want to cry, both things are totally fine. Sometimes maybe in your past life or maybe in your past experience, you were just like the joyful person and you did not have the opportunity to experience what is sadness. There is this beautiful book that is called A Little Soul and the Sun. And I think I have done reference on it. And this soul is asking for to experience life. And it's like, okay, like, can you please let me know what is forgiveness? And then the son says like, are you good? Are you serious about that? And he says like, yes, please, please, please. And then it said like, well, sometimes it's not going to be fun, and sometimes you're going to feel it very, very difficult. But don't worry, I'm always going to be here, and we are always, always to support you in the process. And that's part of the experience you have chosen right now. So, because you were saying that before, you all the three of you, you know, like there are some of us that we are not even aware that that is happening, but it's good because we choose it, you know, like, and we wanted maybe to experience what is to be somehow forgiven, what is to be in an endless silence, what is to be maybe even handicapped, you know, like that's processes of acceptance and to loving ourselves as well. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So beautiful. I got nothing to add to that. Thank you. Colin, any thoughts?
Yeah, I appreciate the last line of this second passage. The agenda will always be to attend the present moment and dance with it with love. If anybody's asking themselves, why am I here? What is my purpose in life? That at least is a large part of the answer. It's not all of it, but it is a good start to say, well, good luck in seeking that purpose. Um, there's a veil here intentionally. If that veil wasn't here, you would know your purpose. But it's not. It's okay to search for that and try to find it. But while you're doing that, just remember that the present moment, bringing love to the moment, is it's not only one of the better things you can do with your time. It's I see it as being hinted all over the channelings with LL Research and others that it's kind of love is a cheat code because it is so primal and fundamental that you can choose the path of hate and darkness. It is a longer path. It is a more difficult path to learn the same lessons, the same spiritual lessons, and get the same spiritual growth from that path. It is possible to do, and many do it. That's the STS path. Eventually, it all comes back to the creator and unifies somewhere, what is it, mid to late sixth density or something like that. Um, but it is love is the easy, almost the easier path, the cheat code, the shortcut, you know, and it is in a lot of ways a more joyful way to go about life. So I almost wonder why anybody chooses the other path, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate your saying that. And I think there was one time where Quo said, really, in our opinion, the service to others path is this more selfish path. And we're not just playing with words. We mean it because it's the easier path. It is definitely the easier path, more enjoyable path, more in good company, more full of love, and so on. So indeed, cheat code indeed.
That's why
Jasmine, oh,
service,
go ahead.
just real quick, that's why it's such a service to live an STS life. And to take that path, that is a service to the creator, a big one. It's a sacrifice, it's martyrdom, but it's there, and you're giving love to the creator just by doing that.
And they did say that as well, that in many ways the service to self path is indeed a service to others, even though the people choosing that path really aren't doing it for others. But in the bigger picture, yeah, it is a service to creator for sure, and to all who want to experience the full range of possibilities from light to dark and positive to negative. Jasmine, anything to add?
The one sentence that really caught my attention was dancing with the energies that would keep your heart open. Heart activation meditation, a meditation that one can do specifically with the intention of opening that major energy center in your body, your heart. Keeping it open is often, actually keeping it open all the time would be the ideal, so that no matter what happens, you don't close your heart off. The heart, as a chakra in the body, is the body's power center, and all energy flows through the heart. And so if your heart is closed, then that's when you start seeing in the individual other challenges arise. So no matter what, keep your heart open. Never close your heart. It's difficult, and trust me, I know from personal experience, it is so difficult sometimes when things happen, when people that you thought you could count on disappoint you, when things just are not going your way. How am I supposed to keep my heart open in the face of this? That's our path. That's your challenge. That's your catalyst. And also, that's your growth.
Really appreciate your saying that, because I would think it would be so easier for some of our viewers to say, I don't know what the hell this present moment thing is and experiencing infinity and all that kind of stuff. But really, in so many ways, I think it really does come down to just keep your heart open as much as you can, as often as you can, and any given day. Quo did say that if you can have your heart open in this present moment, you are being of maximum service to Creator and creation, and cannot emphasize the importance of that enough. Shall we look at one more passage before we wrap things up? This is a beautiful one where the question is actually about what we're doing on this very podcast. This was from January 9th, 2006. A person identified as D1 asks, is it appropriate to use the traditional media of television and radio and internet to achieve our goals of broadcasting the information, of planting the seeds, as you said earlier? Quo, we are those of Quo, my brother, and believe we understand your query. It seems to us a fair and lovely thing for each of you to use the tools which you know to craft that which is your very best effort at sharing the light and the awareness that lie within you. We find all that this group has discussed this day to be appropriate. We do not have any desire to limit you in how you wish to present the information. We would only say to you that to balance the intensive dedication of each of you to manifesting, it is a good idea to spend a significant amount of your time becoming aware of the present moment, relaxing all tension or worry, and simply spending time knowing that all is well and that all will be well. Lighten up and find the light touch, the laughter, the bliss, and the joy that are only available to you when you are focusing on the present moment. Have fun with this, my friends, just as we are having the time of our lives working with you. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing. They're having their time of their lives working with us, and to have fun with this. It seems increasingly difficult to have the approach of having fun with life as things become more intense and polarized. And yet that is such an important part of the spiritual teachings here, to balance the heaviness with the lightness and the open heart. Any thoughts on anything here, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought deeply on lightening up and laughter and bliss and joy. Um, you know, I like to think I have a very good sense of humor, and I enjoy many comedians and have friends and family that are in the, comedic or improvisational arts, and it's just a joy all the time to watch that and think of it in a spiritual way of it is a way of working with catalyst, if not anything else. Um, you take something that's happened that is quote unquote bad, and you make light of it. That is shining light on a situation, on a catalyst, and in the very real sense, it is creating light, or at least bringing light that's already there in the infinite cosmos to that situation. You are shedding light on it. That's why light is always used in many ways to describe the same thing, you know. So
Indeed.
yeah.
Beautifully said. I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy as well, and comedy movies. So we'll have to talk about that a little bit more at one of our next Zoom sessions. Jasmine, did you have anything to add?
Just that for me, there's a difference between being happy and laughing and true joy. I think that you can be happy and laugh, let's say at a funny movie. And deep down inside, though, you feel inadequate and you don't feel good about yourself. So I think joy, for me anyway, is the target, that blissful joy. I think of it almost like a river where you can take a rock and you can throw a rock, people that are very good, and the rock skips across the top of the river and then it sinks. I think of joy as being just below the surface, and that is a frequency of joy. So even though, me personally, I tend to be more of a serious natured person. And so some people may say, well, she's not happy or she doesn't have joy. The fact of the matter is, I do have an underlying joy that you can't outwardly see. And just because I'm not smiling and laughing and joking all the time, I'm lousy at telling jokes. So I don't even bother trying anymore. So since I'm not laughing and telling jokes, one may think that there is no joy there. I have a sense of underlying joy just below the surface of the river. And so, yes, I think laughter and being happy in a situational event is the path leading to joy. But I think joy is something that you cultivate from, of course, meditation, mindfulness, spiritual reflection, and it grows over time.
Indeed. Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't think I had really thought of it quite that way, the difference between joy and happiness that you're describing, but everything you said makes perfect sense to me. And I think in many ways that deep sense of joy that I think you're referring to really comes in many times after pain and suffering. You really are perhaps at your happiest. You know things are at their best when you know how shitty and how bad they could be and that you have gone through to get to that place. So appreciate that. Yeah. Todd, anything to add?
It's just like I find these two elements that is again so clear. They don't say don't use it, but they say use it. Like, it's up to you. Like, you might receive information in the ways you want to, at least what the second passage just said. And I think nowadays it's just because we are in this aerial time, in the Aquarius is very like aerial as well. So that's how information flows. We are doing this today. We are using these channels to somehow transmit any kind of message for the one who is seeking for this. So, which doesn't mean you have to hang on the majority of your time into media in order to get enlightened. You just take bits of it, digest it, and leave it. Any kind of process, if you do it like more than that more than that you need, it will be toxic. So but as I say, like, it's up to you, it's your choice. We cannot say do it or not do it, it's up to you. So, and at the end, really, all of the answers are already within us. Sit and ask yourself things, write on it, hear the music. Even, like Colin, you were saying that in music, all the answers are even there. You are suddenly each day you come waking up with this song like "It's a lovely day," or like "Don't worry about the things because everything is going to be right." So come on, it's more than clear. So yeah, that's the only thing I can say.
Beautifully said. Yeah, and I appreciate the part about bite-sized increments, because I'm looking at the clock and seeing we've been talking for about 2.5 hours now. So kudos to you, viewer, who's like sat through this whole thing through 2.5 hours, and extra kudos to you who like paused this and came back to watch later, because yeah, it's a lot of stuff to go through. And we love you and appreciate you for watching this. Before we wrap this up, as long as we're talking about the importance of laughter and humor and fun and all stuff, did want to note that, yeah, I think it would be fair to say most of the world's major religions and spiritual traditions are not particularly known for their sense of humor. But Law in the One, it really is a big thing. They have talked about laughter and the importance of laughter and humor a lot as a critical part of the spiritual journey. So we did a podcast episode on it called Laughter and the Law of One. A lot of great stuff in there. Check it out. Pop quiz on stand-up comedy. Spoiler alert. Otherwise, where do we go from here? What are some takeaway lessons we might have from our 2.5 hour conversation? I got 5 to suggest. For one thing, yeah, just think of the present moment as infinity and eternity. Understand that the present moment is in time space, where past, present, future all exist simultaneously. And yes, it is an inherently magical thing. Think about meditation as a way to access the present moment, or anything that opens your heart, I would say would be a good thing based on what we've seen. And of course, ask for help. It is always there. And lastly, lighten up. Any takeaway lessons of your own you'd like to add, Jasmine? Any last thoughts, reflections on the topic?
The present moment is all there really is. So dive right in and enjoy this one eternal moment.
Beautifully said. Todd, anything to add?
Just summarize. No, really.
I put a lot of thought into it. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Colin, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same idea, Todd. You summed it up so well, but it reminds me of, and what Jasmine you were saying just a little bit ago about joy, the salutations that we get along the way of listening to all of these channels. A lot of times, Ra or Kol, Latan, or Hatan and Latwi, etc. They do leave us with some very, very beautiful words at the end. Most of the time, it's talking about we leave you in the joy and the power and the peace and the love of the infinite creator, and all of that in and of itself. You could ignore the whole rest of the channeling and just focus on that salutation and find in that all you really need, as a reminder of what you should be looking for in life. Not what you should be looking for, but what you can look for. Thank you, Todd, for reminding us that we don't have to do any of this and that everything's okay, even if we don't. So
Beautiful thought. Great way to close. Panelists, as always, I've learned a lot from you. Thank you all so much for being here and sharing your love and your wisdom with me and with our viewers. I did want to note for any of our viewers who've enjoyed hanging out with us, Jasmine does have a website and a YouTube channel and a book that you might be interested in. Jasmine, you want to share with our viewers a little bit about what you've got?
Enlighten You is an e-course marketplace that is brand new, and it's a fledgling endeavor on my part. But the idea was to offer a place where wisdom teachers and spiritual teachers can post their online activity or their online courses and classes. Of course, there are other platforms that one can use that are highly successful, but I could not find one that was exclusively devoted to individuals whose real focus is in spreading metaphysical teachings and spiritual teachings. And the book, of course, that Jonathan mentioned is the e-course companion book. The course is The Path Within, Foundations in Meditation. And it's an entry-level meditation course that you'll find at Enlighten You. And again, the ebook is a book that I wrote that is really the companion guide to the course. And of course, my YouTube channel, and I've just recently started posting right now biblical stories on Sundays at 4 o'clock. And then I have a sister channel or another playlist that is called Sacred Stillness, that is a meditation about the biblical story that people just watched on Sunday.
Nice.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, so beautiful. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. I really appreciate your being here. And of course, we got one more thing to do before we go, and that is the pop quiz. Pop quiz, of course, is something we like to do at the end of our podcast just to kind of end our otherwise serious discussions on a fun note and maybe look for law of one connections to pop culture. Since today's episode was about the present moment, it seems only fitting that we should have a pop quiz on a movie from 2022 that won 7 Academy Awards. It has been described as a absurdist comedy drama starring Michelle Yeoh as a Chinese-American laundromat owner who, while being audited by the IRS, discovers that she must connect with parallel versions of herself to prevent a powerful being from destroying the multiverse. Anybody know what movie I'm talking about?
Absolutely not.
Everything that I haven't seen it. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, or something. That one.
Indeed. Well done. And congratulations.
Oh,
Yeah.
You who are watching on video who answered that correctly, 10 extra credit karma points for you, and 100 extra credit points if you actually understood it, because it is a wildly frenetic, hard, complicated movie, hard to understand in many ways. But yeah, certainly has a lot to do with the present moment, as you shall see. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions about this movie, see how many you can answer correctly. As always, points don't matter. If you had fun, you won. If you learned something new about this movie, you won as well. And viewer on a video, you can say your answers out loud. We can hear you through time space. First question. The film incorporates footage from Michelle Yeoh's public appearances and career, including a shot from the premiere of which movie? Was it A, Crazy Rich Asians, B, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, C, Kung Fu Panda 2, or D, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? You might have to take a wild guess on those panelists.
It can be B.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Good guess.
I will say C.
Kung Fu Panda 2, good guess. Colin?
I'll say B.
Good guess. Those are all great movies that she's been in, but indeed, in this particular movie, the footage was from the premiere of Crazy Rich Asians, which was also a great movie. Has anybody seen that or seen any of these movies on the screen?
No.
Seen Kung Fu Panda,
Kung Fu
Crouching Tiger,
Panda,
Hidden Dragon. Yeah. The rest
All
I-
great movies. Yeah,
She's also really good in Star Trek Discovery, I might mention.
I heard.
Very great series if you're into that.
great actress from Malaysia, I believe. And yeah, I've seen all four of those movies and enjoyed her performance in all. And Crazy Rich Asians, I think, was just a really fun movie because it was one of the few movies that had an all Asian cast, and there really wasn't any martial arts in it in particular. The bummer of being Asian in America is like every fucking movie with Asians in it, there's martial arts in it somewhere, and it's a very shallow, one-dimensional, two-dimensional view of a large percentage of the Earth population. And Crazy Rich Asians was just a beautiful movie with a lot of funny moments, a lot of serious moments, and yeah, beautiful ending scene for sure. Highly recommend it. Are you ready for your second question? Ke Huy Quan's line, "Snap out of it," is a nod to the character he played in a movie from which franchise? Was it A, Star Wars, B, Jurassic Park, or C, Indiana Jones?
I know my answer.
What's that, Colin?
I know my answer, but I don't want to lead anybody, so I'll let you guys answer first.
Go ahead. Jasmine, Todd, any idea?
B.
Oh,
Good guess.
see,
See? Good guess. Anyone who's seen the movie, who knows anything about this movie, probably knows the answer to this question. What do you think, Colin?
I'm thinking C. I could still be wrong, but pretty strong inkling that C is the answer.
It is indeed, yeah, C, Indiana Jones. He was in Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. He played a character called Short Round, and he was a kid. He was a young boy at that time, and it was like 18 years before this movie. And yeah, he had a really hard time getting acting work after that, and in fact was pretty much ready to give up on acting as a career when he was offered this role, for which he ended up getting an Academy Award and Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor. So beautiful story about believing in yourself, I guess, and toughen it out when life doesn't seem to be giving you opportunities. That all will be well. Your last question. The number on the dog mom's laundry ticket is a nod to which classic science fiction book? And the number on the ticket is 42 for those of you who are not seeing this on video. So that's a nod to which classic science fiction book? Would it be A, Stranger in a Strange Land, B, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or C, The Sirens of Titan? Do you know this one too, Colin?
Absolutely. Knew it before you even had the answers up on screen.
I would think so. Yeah, this is a familiar number for a lot of science fiction fans. Do you know any idea, Jasmine? Any idea, Todd?
I think B.
B. Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
nice.
That's
Nice.
it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is another book that is a classic science fiction comedy book, largely, that is known to a lot of folks in Law of One. I believe the number is referred to as the answer to the question of life, the universe, and everything. And I believe it took a supercomputer like 7 million years to come up with that answer.
Right.
But then they didn't know what the exact question was, so they had to design another supercomputer to answer that question, and never happened. Have you guys read either of the other books, Stranger in a Strange Land or Sirens of Titan?
No?
They're both really good books. Stranger in a Strange Land has been referenced by Kuo a number of times in channeling sessions, kind of as a good metaphor for being a wanderer. And Sirens of Titan is just one of my favorite science fiction books by Kurt Vonnegut. It's just funny, quirky. It's about a alien who gets stranded on the moon in his mission to cross the universe to deliver a message. And so his home people have to manipulate events on Earth in order to get him the piece of metal that he needs to fix his spacecraft. And it's just funny. You just have to read it. Do you guys have any favorite science fiction movies or books that you've ever read that have Law of One connections?
I'm a huge Trekkie. And there is a definite connection with Star Trek and the Law of One.
Absolutely.
For any who don't know, Gene Roddenberry spent and lived with for 20 years a channeler, and that's where a lot of the ideas for Star Trek came from. So they are in many ways in line with that.
For sure. Yeah, and apparently Don did actually meet with Gene Roddenberry before the original Star Trek series, because Don was trying to get a movie made, and he somehow ended up getting connected with Gene Roddenberry, and he did share with him his ideas, and you could see traces of it in like the Prime Directive, among other things, and the whole Empire versus Federation thing really seems to have a lot of one
Even the
connection.
Confederation of Planets and the Federation of Planets is, you can't get much closer than that.
No. Or Klingon Empire and Orion Empire. Yeah, similar. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing to contemplate. Jasmine, Todd, you guys have any favorite science fiction movies, books, TV with Law of One connections?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily law of one, but what popped into my mind is What Dreams May Come.
Oh,
And
great movie.
yeah, there's the incarnation connection there. I don't know if that relates to law of one or not, but
Oh, yeah, so much. That's Robin Williams, right?
right.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen it yet, but I've had so many people recommend it to me, and I'm a huge Robin Williams fan. So
It's
one
a
of these
very
days.
good movie. And, Robin Williams, the comedian, you get to see some of that in the movie. But for me, it was kind of difficult. The first part of the movie, I won't tell you anything about it, but there was some seriousness in it. But it's the whole idea of um, ongoing lives and what that means, what those implications are.
Yeah. Yeah, Robin Williams, more than most any other actor I can think of. So good at being ultra serious, so good at being ultra funny, so far into the dark and so far into the light, and balancing those two. Such a beautiful soul. Tot, you have any favorites?
I think nowadays really almost all the content that I'm seeing have the content, because when you discover the content, then you see like, oh my god, this has the content, this has the content. One of the series I watched lately, and for me was like, okay, yeah, this is all one. It was the series of Loki.
Oh,
Mm,
Loki. Yeah, that was great.
I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this sounds like very familiar. And then you just
Yeah.
find yourself in other things. And even that movie, I really like that movie. And the one from I know it's going to sound cliche, but the one from Interstellar is for me like,
Oh, yeah.
that's my movie when I really want to remember who I am and what I want to do in life. I just played that when I start to cry.
Such a great movie. Yeah. This is why we love doing pop quizzes, because there are a lot of great Law of One connections to be found at various places in pop culture. And if you learn something new about some of those, then that's a great thing. Panelists, as always, again, want to thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our friends at L&L Research, thank you for all you've done, continue to do in service. To you who are watching this on video at some time in the near or perhaps distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. We're sending you our love light, and we are receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator, Adonai, namaste.